it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be giving you guys my top 5 favorite movies of the 1980s. And this is part 2 to the road to my top 50 favorite movies of all time. So, before I get started, feel free to share your favorite movies of the 80s down below in the comments, and let's begin. Coming in at number 5 for my favorite movies of the 1980s is the original Terminator. I love this film. It has some great action, and it also has some great world building, and we also get introduced to the Terminator, and I love this character. He's one of my favorite characters in cinema history, and yeah, this movie is great. I don't know what hasn't been said. This movie is near perfect, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time. Thus, it is one of the top 5 movies of the 1980s. Number 4 is Die Hard. Same with the original Terminator. What hasn't already been said? This movie is a masterpiece. It has great action, and it is one of the best one-location action movies ever. And, Bruce Willis's character is great. Someone who just wants to get home, and then, he gets held hostage. And I think Hans Gruber is one of the best villains in cinema history. And, this has some of the best action. And, just like the Terminator, it is a top 5 movie of the 1980s. And these two movies were like neck and neck. So, you can ask me tomorrow and I can totally change it. But for now, the Terminator is number 5 and Die Hard's number 4. Now, top 3. This is where it gets interesting because I'll just say there's 2 movies from each of these 3 franchises that are all basically tied, and all 3 of these are pretty much tied. So on my top 50 list, this could be in a different order. My number 3 is Back to the Future 1 and 2. Yes, I really do want to include both because they are pretty much neck and neck for me. I think the first one's a little better objectively. I think I might actually like the second one a little more. But yeah, this is the perfect time travel story where, Marty McFly bumps into Doc Brown, and then he travels back in time to 1955 to see his parents when he was in high school, and then Back to the Future 2 does a great job of continuing on with it, and it has a great middle where basically time, they've changed the present, and then they have to go back to 1955 to change this. I think this is a perfect 2-parter, and Back to the Future 3 is definitely the weakest of the trilogy, which, to be fair, came out in 1990. But I still really like that film, and yeah, I like the whole trilogies, but the first 2 are definitely my favorites, and I think Back to the Future 2 is I like it slightly more than the first. Number 2. This is also pretty tricky. And, they're virtually neck and neck. All 3 are basically neck and neck. So my number 2 is the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So yes, these are my 2 favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. And, the second one I like, but it is definitely the weakest of the trilogy. And then the fourth one, well, technically not part of the trilogy. It came out in 2008. I like that as well, but these were easily my 2 favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. And I think objectively the Raiders of the Lost Ark's a little better, but I think I like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade just slightly more. Partially due to Sean Connery, and to be fair, these were actually technically, the third one is technically a sequel to the first, because the second one is technically a prequel to the first. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but anyway, Indiana Jones 1 and 3 were great, and I cannot wait for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny later this year. I'm really excited, and also it's directed by James Mangold, who directed Logan, which is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. So yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade are number 2 on this list. But yeah, I think I will pick Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade between the 2. But number 1 is Star Wars Episodes 5 and 6. And I do think Empire Strikes Back is the better film, and the film I like a little more than Return of the Jedi. I still think both of them are top 5 of the 80s, which is why I didn't want those to hijack the list, because I mean, I think it's safe to say Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, Back to the Future 1 and 2 are easily my 6 favorite movies in the 1980s, probably. So yeah, that's why I didn't want the whole list to just be covered by those 3 franchises, so that's why I basically just put them in one spot. And yeah, and I do think these are the 2 best of the Star Wars original trilogies. And New Hope, I mean, if you guys saw the last video, that was also a top 5 of the 1970s. I mean, yeah, I mean, Star Wars is arguably my favorite franchise up there with the MCU. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back, I mean, a great film. This used to actually be my least favorite of the original trilogy. Now this is my favorite, and you know, for a long time I did question if Empire Strikes Back was a little overrated, and I wish I could slap myself in the face for that, because Empire Strikes Back is not overrated. It is a great film, as is the whole Star Wars original trilogy. So Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of the 1980s, along with technically Return of the Jedi. So those are my semi-top 5 of the 1980s, and I cannot wait to do my top 5 of the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, and then 2020s, and then top 50s of all time. I'm really excited for this whole series. And later this week, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out, and I do have some Marvel stuff coming. And yeah, so I'm excited for the future of my channel this month. I cannot wait to post more, but before then, thanks for watching.